Okay, so it was pointed out that I didn't really have any videos on skewness in the descriptive statistics. So I thought I'd add a little video just going through a little bit about skew and skewness and maybe talk a little bit about kurtosis and how this relates to the median and the mean. So we see like here, we've got like three different, this is actually from another class of mine, but it doesn't matter. We have three different distributions. The first is this right skewed distribution. And here the mean is greater than the median. Now, a good example of this sort of distribution would be house prices or income. You know, at the right end, we might have somebody earning $1 billion a year, and that $1 billion person, they're going to move the median a tiny little bit because they're not really going to, one person is not going to change the middle value, but that they're actually going to change the mean quite a lot because it's a billion and most of the people are earning, say, between $50,000 and $100,000. Conversely, we could also have like a normal distribution, and this will occur in nature, things like weight and height, maybe the time something occurs. So this would be kind of the symmetric normal distribution. And then we have a left skewed distribution. So this might be the exam scores of a professor who is not tough enough, as an example. Basically something where everything's skewed towards the higher end a little bit. So, and in this case, because the more extreme values are to the left, these kind of move the mean to the left of the median. When we have symmetry, the mean is approximately equal to the median. So I thought this was kind of pretty kind of interesting. We're talking about income inequality, how income inequality is rising in America. So we have the median wage, median salary, and then we have the mean salary. And you can see that the mean salary is increasing quicker than the median salary, which generally means that there's more income inequality. We have more people at the higher end skewing the mean higher than the median. And we actually, you can see we have two axes here. The right axis is the ratio of the median to mean. And, in 1989, the median was about 72% of the mean. And by 2015, it was 64% of the mean. Now, interestingly, I talked about wages being kind of right skewed. But here's an example of, and these were kind of graduate wages of different kind of sub-disciplines of business. And we have the overall here. And you see the mean is 49,536. The median is 50,000. So they're as close as possible to being even. Now, why is this true when I said that salaries are right skewed? Well, this is because it is salaries of graduates. So you don't get any graduates. I guess unless you found your own company, you don't get any people reporting graduate salaries of like $1 billion. So most of the graduate salaries mean of $50,000, and they have a relatively symmetric distribution. Okay, so I'm going to show you some examples in Excel. Let's get out of that. This is how to kind of utilize the business statistics. So let me just get the right spreadsheet up, skew examples. And let's say I've got three data sets. And the idea is that one will be right skewed, one will be left skewed, and one will be kind of symmetric in the middle. So first we've got sanitation scores. So these are actual real cruise liners. When they dock in the US, they have to have a sanitation check. And the maximum they can score is 100. So these are the scores of sanitation scores for these cruise liners. So let's just select this, Control Shift down arrow. And let's just insert. And we're not going to use the data analysis histogram because that's kind of tricky to set up with the boxes. But we're just going to insert, go to the graphs, and then go to the histogram. And then we're going to do a histogram chart. And again, we're kind of right down at the bottom here. So let's just move this up. I'll just actually just cut it. And I'll just paste it near the top. Now let's just select this. And we're going from like 69 to 72. And we've got axis. So we select the axis. Sorry, select. So select the axis and then click format your format axis to the right. We've got the little bars. We're going to select axis options. And we're going to make the bin a little bit narrower here. So we're going to have a bin width of 2 to show the distribution a little bit more. Now, what's weird here, this is kind of almost, you can see this is highly left skewed, but we've got this weird kind of bar to the right. Now, what's happened here is that this is just a little bit of a trick because all the other bars are of width 2 and this is of width 1. It's between 99 and 101, but in fact it's 99 and 100 because there's nothing over 100. So let's just kind of go back and select my axis again. And let's go back to my options. And I'm going to do an underflow bin. And I'm going to make it at kind of, I'm going to make it even. So I'm going to do 68. And that will make it 70. There we go. And that sets the bottom of the distribution as an even number. And then we get a slightly better scale there. So I won't bother labeling this, but I'll just say this is histogram of sanitation scores. And what else I'm going to do, and remember from when we talked before about our distributions, we expect the mean, these values down here, to skew the mean to the left. So the mean should be less than the median. And we should have a negative skew. It's skewed to the left, it's skewed negative. So Control-Shift, let's select the scores. Now let's go to data analysis, and I'm going to click descriptive statistics, and we're going to have to select this again. So select score, Control-Shift down, labels in first row, and then we're going to, 03 actually sounds quite good. Output range, so click OK. And there we have Excel's descriptive statistics. Now, the kurtosis, as mentioned in the book, is like the peakness of the distribution. And to be honest, in kind of practice and academia over 20 years, I've never ever used the kurtosis. But the skew is kind of quite useful here. We can see, you know, the more skewed something is, the further it is away from normality. So we can see, as expected, we can see that the, and let's just kind of highlight this, and let's just highlight it in yellow. We've got the mean here is lower than the median. It's slowed left by these scores. And then we have a negative skewness. So now let's do the same for research and development. So let's just select research and development. And this is research and development spending for a list of maybe Fortune, I guess, Fortune 50 or Dow Jones 50 companies. I'm going to go Control-Shift. I'm going to select it. And this time we're going to scroll to the top so we don't have to like move our chart afterwards. I'm going to insert histogram, and voila. You can see these are a little bit wide. So let's select the axis. And if you don't have this up already, you can just right-click and format axis. And we can do bin width at the moment. You see that we're automatic, but we can set the bin width, how wide the bins are. We could just set the number of bins. Sometimes bin width helps if you've got whole numbers, but here it doesn't really matter. So let's just set 15 bins. And we get a better skew there. And you can see this is kind of skewed to the right, but not too much. You see that these last two values here, these last two values are kind of skewing our thing a little bit to the right. We've got, maybe these are just your average everyday consumer products companies, and we've got a few tech companies up here, and they're just skewing this to the right. So let's select the axis again. And I actually prefer, let's just do a bin width of 0.5. then we get slightly better labels on our x-axis. We don't get like 0.333333 or anything like that. Okay, and we're going to call this histogram of, and this is the research and development, the percentage of revenue spent on R&D by companies. Histogram of our R&D revenue percentage. Now, so here we expect right skewed, so we expect the skew to be positive, and we expect these values here to drag the mean to the right of the median. So the mean should be higher than the median. Okay, so let's just do data analysis, descriptive statistics. Now you see it was on B, so let's just select on the input range here. Now go to click on A1, Control Shift, and then the down arrow. Oh, it's got messed up. Let's just remove anything from B. Okay, try that again. A, Control Shift, down arrow. Okay, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna drag it manually. Don't know what was happening there. Okay, so we've got like A1 to A51, and then we have O3. And again, I didn't mention it last time, but there's different summary statistics you can have. We're just going to have the basic summary statistic. We're not going to worry about confidence intervals in this chapter. Okay, so we have the results here. And as expected, we have the mean is higher than the median, and this gives us a positive skewness. So the final value, and this was, I think it was kind of from a survey where we added the results together, a kind of summated scale rating survey. I think this was accounting companies, and it was, you had to measure the sustainability of your company. So I guess it's things like, do we recycle? Do we use alternative energy sources, etc., etc. Things like that. So it's this kind of sustainability scores for companies. So let's just do what we did before, Control Shift down. Then we've got a lot of companies. We've got 992 companies. But let's just scroll back up to the top so we don't lose our histogram. Insert, histogram. And that's kind of nice. I don't think I'm even going to change the bins on that. So I'm just going to put histogram of sustainability scores. It's very nice. And we're now going to do, so this is, you can see it's almost symmetric. It's not quite symmetric. Real data are never quite symmetric and normal. But I can imagine here that the skew is going to be pretty low, pretty near zero, whether it's positive or negative. And I imagine that the median is going to be pretty close to the mean. So let's just see if my intuition is correct. So I'm going to insert, sorry, I'm going to do data analysis, descriptive statistics, and let's just select A1. Let's just drag down to the bottom. A1 to A993. We keep the output range as before, and we're selecting summary statistics. And here we go. And you can see that the skew is very slightly negative. I said it was going to be small in either direction. The mean is 67.8, and the median is 68. So the values are very close together. So what we've done here is just a little bit of data analysis. We've just kind of given you an idea of how you have the formula in the book, but you can see how skewness works in practice. You can also see here ketosis. You can see that this is kind of a little bit squashed. It doesn't have a peak, so it's got negative ketosis. And this is a very peak distribution, so it has positive ketosis. And this is kind of somewhere in the middle. But again, I don't worry too much about ketosis. But again, we've just showed the relationship between the mean, the median, and the skewness.